Oh, what a day. What a day. Oh, I'm sorry, am I late? I just kind of thought it was commonplace given how Luciel's third job path was late by, over a freaking year. Seriously, Luciel's first and second job paths came out last February in Korea, and exactly 6 months later in North America. It took over a year in both servers for the third job path to finally arrive. And I know I gave Rose plenty of thrashing for everything I hated about her already, but she had 4 complete job paths come out between Luciel's second and third, which hardly seems fair. The class itself stems from Lu being, assassinated, kind of, but somehow not dying, by somehow getting her power back and restoring her old self. Something, Deus Ex Machina, Lu is a fully fledged demon again. Woohoo! And, to top it all off, it starts to flow into Seal as well. He gets a horn now. One more thing, just to clear the record before we begin. I have concluded after much research that his name is in fact pronounced Seal. I know that has been a point of contention in many of the comments on previous Luciel videos, so I figured it was worth a mention. But anyway, with all that aside, I think this job path has waited long enough. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your royal Diabla Demonio. This path has some of the more straightforward job quests in my opinion. The first job quest is almost trivial in its length and simplicity, requiring just 3 dungeons on top of the base job quest. And in the second job quest, all the drops you need are guaranteed, so you need exactly 20 dungeon runs to get it. Of course, you will need to level up a bit from level 35 to do so, but since pretty much every second job quest requires this, it's not that bad. And now, my favorite part, the cool stuff. Let's start with Diablo. No, what is this? Are you seriously going to mess with my symmetrical OCD this badly? No. Stop right there and put your pants on both legs, Missy. Ah! With that monstrosity aside, I do like Diablo's design quite a lot. It's not as exploitative as some of her other designs, and she looks so happy in her artwork that it's hard not to share such a joyous feeling. Demonio also looks pretty darn cool. Like, Dreadlord and Royal Guard just looks so much like he's ready to adopt the name Jeeves that this is a really refreshing change. If he's going to be a quote-unquote underworld hitman, he should bloody well look the part, and he finally does. Starting with Diablo, there's 3 new combos to look at. The most useful combo in my opinion is Switch Rush, executed by dashing and using Z, then 4 X's, then Z again. But to me, the best part of this is that I can dash and do ZX and get an instant combination point. The other moves are just kind of icing on the cake. The other basic combo is dash jump XZX, which is also pretty useful, but not nearly as much so as the previous combo. And then the last of Diablo's combos is a bloody nightmare. I don't think I got it to actually proc once intentionally before recording this video. I mean, it sounds easy. All you have to do is launch an enemy, bind it, and then mash X repeatedly. But trust me, it sounds way easier than it actually is. This combo seems super useful, but my god is it just a pain in the ass to pull off in any reasonable scenario. And then, as if that weren't enough, Demonio's only combo, yes, his one and only combo, is exactly the same thing except longer. It's just a ZZZX extension onto that X-mashing combo. And again, while it's not a bad combo, I honestly felt like I just couldn't pull it off reliably, which means that the practicality of the move was just not even there. So personally, I only consider 2 of those 4 combos really useful, but luckily, spoiler warning, there is a bit of a compensation for what I consider a disappointing set of combos. I'll be blunt about the passives, they're really not that fascinating. They buff you pretty nicely, but I won't be going into detail about each one, except to say that I love the permanent 50 MP bonus. Yeah, boy! There's also an active buff called Phantom Circle, which is a pretty decent little buff that gives you a little poof every couple of seconds with HP and MP regen, like a fairy princess. As for actives, Diablo and Demonio have 4. Abyss Strike is a skill that actually ended up being my main active, though that's primarily because I find its short cooldown and low MP cost quite useful. The bind mechanic it offers is pretty finicky for timing, and that takes away a good half of the skill's potential. Phantom Rush is a primarily PvP skill that I found incredibly useless not only in PvP, but in general. It allows you to teleport behind a marked enemy, but only if you activate the skill immediately upon marking the enemy, and often it will teleport you in front of them, making it completely useless. Rapid Impact does a pretty pitiful hit, but lets you switch to the other character regardless of whether you're Lu or Seal, and get 1 combination point in return. It's not much, but incredibly handy nonetheless. And lastly, Punisher is an active which is also good for its low MP cost and cooldown, but it's mostly a PvP move since its mana burn and knockdown reduction are far less useful in PvE. In the special active department, the first one I came to love was Land Crusher. It's a skill I find useful even as I arrive at level 55, for the simple fact that it clears so much space in front of you. The downside is the god-awful long cooldown, and the fact that sometimes it bugs out and doesn't hit the guys right in front of you, though I couldn't get this to happen in free training. Bloodlust is a burst-damaging buff move which seems useful, maybe. It has nice stat boosts, I guess, but its proc chance seems so low. I mean, it doesn't actually tell you what the chance is, but I barely ever noticed it actually proc. And since its double attack effect only works on combos and actives, well, whatever, man. Nightmare is probably another of those PvP moves. It reduces the enemy's vision field while afflicted, which, of course, I couldn't show you unless I actually took a hit from it. Which, of course, we all know that I'm too skilled to ever let that happen. Yeah, that. Sinister Mind, on the other hand, is pretty cool, though I found other skills more useful, to be honest. It fires a bullet forward which explodes into a handily large radius and does significant damage to everything within it. It even explodes if you hit nothing, which can be useful. Desperado is, well, it looks cooler than it actually is, in my opinion. In essence, it just traps enemies briefly before shooting them. And that's pretty much it. It has a nice side effect that if there's enough enemies afflicted, they get a slow effect as well, and the damage you do increases. Garden of Horrors? Horrors? I don't know, something. It just grows a flower. The flower damages stuff. Fascinating. Diablo and Demonio also, of course, have a hyperactive called Diabolic Disaster, with a serious emphasis on the disaster part. It looks weak, boring, and complements that nicely by being one of, if not the, weakest hyper in the game. Yay! And now everyone is either shouting at the video or madly rewinding it, trying to figure out how could he miss Manic Mode? Unsubscribe, dislike, never watching another one of his videos again, let's go look at some porn or something. Come on. You guys really think I'd let you down? Yes, indeed. One of the highlights of this path is Manic Mode, or Madness Mode, that is accessible through the skills Altar of Evil and Transcendence. The former activates Lus, while the latter activates Seals. Upon transformation, the character has access to 3 skills, in addition to a Z combo, an X combo, and an aerial version of both of those. The character also exhibits burst damage during the transformation into, as well as out of, Manic form. To be honest, each skill and attack in these forms is actually worthy of its own summary, but for brevity's sake, I'm just going to cover the basics. After using Altar of Evil, Diablo's transformation, you have access to a very odd array of moves. Some of them link you to a single enemy which does damage at a range, and some will shoot little homing missiles at targets. But in a completely opposite vein, she also took some notes from Code Battle Seraph and has a giant laser. This makes her pretty versatile, having both the power and burst damage of a heavy hitter, while also being able to handle individual mobs pretty dandily. However, I can't say the same of Demonio's transformation, access through the skill Transcendence, because yeah, that word doesn't have multiple meanings now. Demonio's Manic Mode is just like a hummingbird on 6 cups of coffee. Pretty much all his techniques are sword rushes or similar, including one where he darts around and hits numerous enemies several times. I'm not gonna pretend I don't wish Blade Master had gotten this instead, but it's still damn cool. Overall, I found it to be more useful than Diablo's transformation, but they each have their own purposes. Okay, straight up, without a word of a lie, this is the best Luciel class to play. Now, I know that's a super subjective thing to say, but, you know, blah blah blah, freedom of speech and all that, whatever. The biggest difficulty I have with Diablo and Demonio is simply playing with only 4 slots. Like, I want to use the Manic Mode of both characters, but that takes up 2 slots. With just 2 left, it's possible but egregiously annoying to set up any kind of decent ability to switch the 2 characters and rack up combination points to use the Manic Mode transformations. There is a decent combo for doing so, -ZX, but it's still a pain without skills. In the end, I resigned myself to using just Demonio's Manic mode, since it's far superior in my opinion, but having 8 slots would just be so wonderful, especially since you have 2 characters who both have these great modes that are useful in innumerable situations. Which leads me to my last point about the gameplay. The Manic mode just makes the entire class worth it. It's a really, really cool gimmick that lets you do all kinds of neat stuff with both characters. It's something unlike anything that any other class really has, and that's something I always praise as being a desirable trait. All in all, aside from the fact that the classes have moves I think are more deserved by existing characters, I can't deny how fun it is to play this class. The transformations are super fun, and really add a third dimension to Luciel's gameplay. Wait, that's it? There's no more characters or classes in sight? Well then, that kind of puts me in an awkward situation. So I guess that's it then. As usual, there's some editorials and Let's Plays smattered all over the screen for you to go look at, so go look at those, I guess. And until next time, I will see you later. Oh, I'm sorry, am I late? Oh, my mistake. You know, I kind of thought it was commonplace given how Luciel's third job path, but it was, yeah, let's try that one again.